Hello, welcome back to Up the Villa. On today's episode, we're going to be picking our Aston Villa Mount Rushmore. I'm joined by Sam Josbury. How you doing, mate?
I'm doing great, thanks, mate.
So you're fresh on the channel, never been on before, and you are an artist. I'm calling you a Premier League and Aston Villa artist. And you sort of messaged me the other day being very sort of complimentary of the channel, etc. And we got talking. So I thought, do you know what? Let's try and do an episode and get you on. And then I started to think of I don't want it to just be really generic. So I thought, let's get creative. You're creative. So this is the concept. So how you doing, mate?
I'm great. I'm feeling good about being on here. First of all, I think I sent you when I sent you the message. I said I speak because I'm at uni. Well, I'm not at uni anymore. I finished literally last night. I had my degree show opening. It was really cool, and it was great as well. I got all the tutors out and all my teachers, and we were all on the pub, so it was quite cool. But one of the tutors or one of the art technicians, massive Villa fan, always talking about the channel. Literally any time I'm drawing in the studio, he comes in and mentions it. So I was like, when we were on the night last night, I was like, I'll have to mention it to him, and I'm sure he'll see the episode straight as it goes out. So yeah.
So if anyone is unaware of who you are an artist and you've drawn pictures for Villa players. So we're going to chat about that after we've done the first part of the show. So that'll be really interesting. So Mount Rushmore, then we've got 4 people and 4 players, you can put managers on. And I think the major stipulation we're going to put on this is you have to have seen the players play or manage during your lifetime. So I think that makes it a little bit more easier. So we're not sort of having to pick just players for the sake of it because they are who they are. I think let's limit it to during your lifetime. So we've both done a little bit of a list of who could possibly be on Mount Rushmore for Aston Villa, and then we can go one by one and pick our players. So on my list, and I think I've done it sort of based on nostalgic / players that just kind of mean something a bit to me. So there's some of them that are quite obscure that might mean nothing to somebody else, but to me, they hold a bit of value. So on my list, I went with Dwight York, Savo Milosevic. I went with Dion Dublin, Gareth Barry, Darius Vassell, Lee Hendry, David Ginola, Milan Barros, Martin Larson, Olaf Melberg, John Carew, Gareth Barry, Ashley Young, Ian Taylor, Gabby Abonhor, Ben Teke, Steve Davis, Delaney. I put a wild card in there. I went with Vyman. I think he means a bit to me. Petrov, Watkins, Grealish, McGinn, Konsa, Mings, and those are my players. So those kind of have nostalgic vibes for me. So what would be some of the players on your list?
Right, so mine's a bit shorter than yours, but I did notice you look up on one of the names that's definitely on my list. So, so I started properly watching 2012-ish times, I'd say. So on my list I've got Benteke, Vyman, Delph, and then I didn't know whether to cover Championship because it's a bit of a weird one. But obviously I got Grealish, I got Tammy, I got Andre Green, which might be a bit of a outside shout, but he always, I don't know, I just enjoyed watching him play. I've got El Ghazi, I've got Trezeguet, who I've actually got written down as Trezeguet because what a guy. I've then got Dougie Luiz, Ezri Konsa, Tyrone Mings, and more recent ones, Diego Carlos, Leon Bailey, John Duran, and then I've got McGinn and Unai.
You not got Glenn Whelan?
Well, and Horahan as well.
Right, so that's what we're playing with. So I'll kick it off. We'll go one by one. So on my Aston Villa Mount Rushmore, I have got Juan Pablo Angel. He and everyone knows this, that he's my Villa goat, my favourite ever player. Just everything about him, when you're a young lad watching football, there's more to it than just a football. The headband, the hair, the flair, the vibe, just the goal against Chelsea, Bolton. And I just felt like if he was in a better Villa team, he would have been like right up there amongst Villa's elite players. So yeah, Angel, I just think for me personally, my favourite ever Villa player. So who would be on your first section of Mount Rushmore?
Well, as soon as you sent it across last night, head just Benteke straight away. He was just the main man, wasn't he? He was like that. He was like ultimately he's just what made me like fall in love with football. Like what a player! It's like what you said, like the aesthetic, like him with the gloves on, why would he just hit it from outside the box, and like everything was just so clean, and like back post headers. And I remember I don't know if you'll remember, but he got injured against Norwich in his second season, and I remember I think it was Kozak came on for him, and I think it was his debut. And I remember being like so upset that he'd got injured and he was sitting on the bench. He'd come onto the bench with crutches, and I remember watching the game like, this is a sad day for football. And I don't even think it was that long. It might have been a fairly long injury, but just the emotion that guy, like the connection was like, what a player, what a player.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, that he played in that lime green kit as well, which just when I think of Benteke, I think of that kit, and you are right. Like within the Premier League era, he's right up there with our standout. I mean, I'm sure he's got about 30 something goals for Villa in the Premier League. And I think he was only here for like 2 or 3 seasons. So you can see the magnitude of the amount of goals that he scored. And like you say, he's striking of the ball. I think the Crystal Palace goal when he dribbled from the halfway line. Interestingly, though, you're talking about Kozak. I used to work at Tony and Guy in Sutton. And it was along that time that Kozak used to come in and get his hair cut. I never used to cut his hair at the time, but he used to come in and get his hair cut. But I remember that when Benteke got injured in that game, Kozak came on and scored pretty much straight away, didn't he? So
he did.
I was a bit of a Kozak fan at the time, just because he used to come in the shop that I used to work in. So that's a good shout, and I'm glad you picked him because I haven't picked him, so he's not on mine. So, but I think that's a great shout that he's actually on yours.
I'll tell you what about Kozak as well. Sorry, quickly. I remember I actually had a bit of a grudge against him for that exact reason. But this was like me being a bit of a like naive young football fan. The fact that Benteke went off, loved him so much, was gutted he was on the bench with his crutches. Kozak comes on and scores, and I'm thinking, what's going on here? We don't want Benteke being replaced. But obviously, never was going to happen because he was so good. But
definitely. Right, so my second one is Ashley Young. I think he's just I mean, he's a Villa legend, isn't he? He's played for us twice, and I think the other thing about him as well is that his overall career is just amazing. Goes to Man United, wins pretty much everything. And then he sort of develops into a different type of player. And I think that shows what a good player that he was. Started out as a winger, then can move into sort of like right back. I think James Milner's in the same bracket. The longevity of a player that can adapt their game and keep going. And he won the league in Italy as well. But, that era for Villa, the O'Neill era, I mean, that was the kind of like the era where we were our best era, really, at times. And then obviously now it's being overshadowed because I think this era is better than the O'Neill era. But that O'Neill era is a big part of us in the Premier League. We were doing really well and we were right up there. And Ashley Young, Milner, Bonlahor, Carew, all those players have real fond memories amongst the fan base. And I think for me, if I had to pick one out of all of that era, I would go with Ashley Young because his pace, his deliveries, technique, his goals. Absolutely quality. So who's your second one?
Right, my second one, it's got to be Jack, Super Jack. I'd just quickly like to jump back onto what you said. After you sent the message last night, I sent my dad a message saying, I hope it's from my era, because I don't want to have to be like trying to explain players that I know like the fans love and picking for the fans, you know what I mean? And my dad was like, you need to say, shout out Ashley Young, shout out John Carew, shout out Juan Pablo, and his favourite player was Juan Pablo as well. So, but yeah, no, but Jack, I think he's. I kind of wanted to base them like off the time I've watched Villa, and it's like you said, like I assume you probably didn't pick Benteke for the reasons that it was like that kind of slump period.
Mhm.
It felt like that, but obviously that was when I started, so it was kind of it was hard to pick players now. Or it was hard to not pick a Mount Rushmore of just players now, because this is by far the best Villa team I've ever watched. But Grealish, just the journey he went on, like from being relegated, going through the Championship, and I wanted something that would like represent the Championship as well, because that was some of the most like fun times I've had being a Villa fan. Like the season we got promoted was just like all the players, all of them were great, and that especially like if we had to pick one specific Jack Grealish, it's like him coming back with his beard after his injury, getting the captain's armband, and just ripping it up on that 10 game winning streak. So yeah, what a player! And my hair used to be just like his. Developed a bit longer on the sides now. But...
Love it, mate. Love it. You got a good head of hair. You have. So fair play to you. So my third one is Jack Grealish. So I'm going to kind of echo what you've said, and you can probably tell there's a bit of a pattern with mine. So we've got sort of 2000s with Angel, we've got the O'Neill era with Ashley Young, we've missed the era for me, like you say, of Benteke and that sort of Paul Lambert era where it's not the greatest, and then we've gone into a fresher era of Villa becoming and climbing back to becoming a Premier League club. And I think, I think Grealish is quite raw for some still, but for me, if I'm looking at who has made the biggest impact for me as a player, then I would say it's Jack Grealish. A lad coming from the academy, driving Villa back up to the Premier League, staying in the Premier League. But I also think actually watching him play, such a maverick. I've never seen that. I mean, some people, I imagine, are going to put players like Paul Merson on there because he's that type of maverick player that can just an assist from anywhere, etc. And Grealish was that. And watching him drive and dribble, I've never seen a player that can dribble like that. And some people will have like Morley on theirs, etc. But for me, Grealish has to be right up there. And I have to think about it in this way. It's like, who's technically probably the best player I've ever watched? I'd probably say he's Grealish. The impact that he made on the game. So, yeah, Grealish for me is right up there.
Yeah,
I think
100%. And yeah, I'd back everything you've said as well. It's just the joy of watching him, and that was the same thing with Benteke as well. Like the goals he just grabbed from nothing, but they were like special goals. Like everything felt like, oh, that was mint, and we needed it so much. He was so essential. But yeah, Grealish just every game. But actually, it's what kind of got frustrating in some games was when he was just so good that it was like we need to go through him every time. But like looking back on it, it's just like, I mean, I'd have him back.
Yeah, so... and I think when you talk about him, and when I see, there's a lot of people talking about Grealish now, like Man United fans, City fans talking about where he's going to go, and they always say, can he get back to the Villa Green? Nobody mentions the Man City. They always mention the Villa Green, and that's the impact that he had on fans that don't support Villa. That they remember that Grealish. So if they remember that, then it shows you that he's like right up there. So who's your third player to go on Mount Rushmore?
Okay, so number three was the one that was realistically it was another certain lock, and I've gone Emi Martinez, because I just think like he actually is like probably, even though Grealish technically was amazing, he's like factually for me, like you can't win 2 Yashin trophies and not be like one of the best. Well, I think he's the best player that is at the club and best player in my lifetime. Like to have those individual awards, and he's just mint. He's amazing, and I wouldn't, obviously I'll be gutted if he goes, but the time he's given us, and the fact that we can say we've had a World Cup winner at like playing for Villa, the 2 Yashin trophies while he's been playing for Villa, just the things he does for the fans. I've met him. What a guy! He took my that Be Real at the time was massive, and he took my Be Real while I was on the pitch at Villa Park, and me and my dad were like, "What is going on?" And he's just such a lovely guy and an incredible keeper. Like I'm not really. I always feel like sometimes I'm going to overlook a keeper. Like, oh, I think there's been times at Villa they're not, because it's not an exciting role, but like the things he does are undeniable, and the saves that he makes, like, are just like no one makes them saves, and what a player. So yeah, he's number 3.
It's his mentality as well that's massive. You know, he brings that to Villa, and again that can sometimes get overlooked if we can appreciate what he actually plays like, but outside of Villa in training, how demanding he is, that's actually really important. So my final Aston Villa Mount Rushmore player, well, not a player actually, it's a manager. And I have gone for Unai Emery on my Mount Rushmore. For me, he's the GOAT. He's the greatest manager I've ever seen at Aston Villa. The coaching, and everybody knows I appreciate tactics. His tactics, how he's galvanised his football club to become a team that is dining back round the Champions League table, to be as demanding as he is, to coach the players. I just think he's absolutely incredible. So I've kind of done 4 different eras, and like you, I could have picked a current Villa. Like I really wanted to pick McGinn, but I think I really wanted to pick a manager. And not only that, and I know we've not won anything with Unai yet, but just how he's been able to connect me to the team, and how he works, and just absolutely everything. If I was to do a list of everything that I'd want from a manager, Unai Emery has been able to do it at Aston Villa. You know, mentality, coaching, developing players, winning big games. And I know there's some that we haven't won, but big games like Bayern Munich, etc. So for me, Unai Emery is definitely on there. So my 4 are Juan Pablo Angel, Ashley Young, Jack Grealish, and Unai Emery. So who is your 4th, mate?
Got to match you. I've got to match you on it. I agree. I wanted to put McGinn, but I also didn't want to have that. I didn't really want to have 2 players from the same era, even though McGinn sort of spans Grealish and Emmy. But yeah, Unai, like this is 1000% like the best football I've ever seen Villa play. It's unbelievable, and it's all down to him. I mean, the way he's made the players play and just improve them all, and he's incredible. I don't have enough words for him, but at the same time, I don't have them off the top of my tongue, but I'll tip of my tongue. but yeah, no, it is incredible, and it's just it took time. I think it's funny, like going down to Villa Park. I'm from York. I'm not from Birmingham. My dad's from Birmingham, so we go as much as we can. But I thought it was really funny, like the times I've been through Villa Park, and like the way the fans have like reacted to him along the journey, like people, and how the fans have just, they were always on board because he's always been a brilliant manager. But the way that you hear like the old boys talk about him and say like this is the football that we play nowadays, and it's just what works, and they're just all on board with it. But at the start they were kind of like, they'd be shaking and like worried about the way we're like passing. But he's just a tactical genius. He knows everything. And yeah, the way he's improved players, and there's other players like on my list like that, well, they're on that list because of Unai Emery. And
yeah.
yeah,
I think that's the big thing that I thought of as well. Like when I was thinking about like McGinn and thinking about certain players, it just led me back to Unai Emery, and I think that's why I put Unai Emery on there. And there is one person, you could say two, but one who very rarely ever gets a mention for really having like a fundamental impact on Villa right now, and I think it's Nassef Sawiris, the owner.
okay, yeah,
And you could put Wes Edens on there as well, but the impact that he's had as an owner on this football club, from Championship to Champions League, this era that we're living in now, we can say it's down to Dean Smith, we can say it's down to Unai Emery. That owner there has a massive impact on all of this, and I think he deserves a massive shout out. So I would say if there was a fifth one, I'd probably go with Nassef Sawiris. I think just because I think we're nothing without these owners. So I really wanted to give him a bit of a shout out. To be fair,
I'm glad you mentioned him as well, because I was thinking, how do I pick even more outside the box than a manager? And I was thinking, do I say the owners or do I say Prince William? And I don't really want to say Prince William, so I'm glad you mentioned it.
Thank you, mate. Right, so we can have a chat about you now, because I think you are very interesting, and like I say, you've drawn the Villa players. I mean, you are sort of like dealing with pencil, aren't we? Is it a pencil that you use?
Yeah,
so,
just pencil.
So that technique there is brilliant. So talk to me a little bit about how you became where you are right now then, and how you became as good as you are, because what I'm about to show the Villa fans is absolutely like mind-blowing. So talk to us about your talent.
Thank you. So I've been on this art journey for probably about 8 years now. And it started really when I was doing like GCSEs. My teachers were kind of like, you're good at drawing, so why don't you get online and start sharing what you can do, because it's worth it. And luckily, I mean, it's awful to say luckily, but COVID hit and I had so much time on my hands. And before then I was like, I draw a bit, but it was Xbox and drawing. And when COVID hit, I kind of thought, I've got all this time on my hands, might as well do something. And I just started drawing, and this was Championship era Villa, and it was entertaining to. I've always liked drawing, and it kind of kicked on where like my project at school was like football related. I kind of catered it to that because just football obsessed. So, and I think one of these you might even pull up. There was a drawing that I did of Alan Hutton so early, and actually I forgot to put him on my list. I can't believe I forgot to put Alan Hutton on my list, because genuinely, he was probably in contention for the Rushmore. But there was a drawing I did of Alan Hutton, and I posted it online, and it was rubbish. Not rubbish. It was decent for the time, but in comparison to how good I am now, it's crazy to look back. But he dropped a comment on the drawing, and it was like, this is crazy. Like how has a footballer responded to what I've done at school? And from there, I just was like, this is an opportunity to kind of reach my heroes in a way. And from there, I just drew and progressively got better. More time has obviously gone into them. But yeah, so over 8 years, I'd say, I've met some pretty cool people. And yeah, it's weird, but it's just kind of, it's all been just for the love of Villa and trying to make a career of something and go into a niche that sort of that I can enjoy and relate to, but it can connect with fans as well, because like that's a good stepping stone to get out there. Like there's so many people that are so supportive of like artwork, especially when someone loves like a player as much as you do. They're in there and they're willing to have a look and have a share and get your name out, and it's great. So yeah.
I mean, when I was watching, because I've seen you obviously draw Villa put that video out, and I've seen that before, and I feel like you could watch that all day. We have got one problem with you, Sam, and you know what the problem is, don't you?
Have you? How much research have you done?
I know the problem with you. How many players there have you drawn that have left?
Oh, you know what?
Right?
I was actually worried you were going to say something else.
Duran,
no.
we've got Louise, right? What's happening? Alicia Lehman, they all leave.
It's awful. It's awful. I honestly thought it was funny at the start, and it's not funny anymore. It's honestly not funny. I've done the.
Well, I'm going to be honest. I'm a bit worried about this one. This is the one that I'm now a bit worried about.
No, well, all right, okay. So let me explain. The worrying thing is the people that I've drawn and I've met, they're the ones that have gone. So the people that unfortunately might be on the chopping board, Leon Bailey and someone. I did a commission of Emmy, and that drawing managed to get to Emmy, so that was stressing me out a little bit. So that's awful. But I've purposefully I did have an opportunity to meet Morgan, but it was a very small opportunity, and I actually passed it up. So I don't think that one will be getting to Morgan. But yeah, no, I'm stressed. I'm seriously stressed. I was thinking I'm going to have to completely bin off my art career, and I'll have to go down the road. I even drew. I had an opportunity to draw Cunha from Wolves, and he's gone.
Oh, but he's left.
Yeah, he's left. It's like it's genuinely following me everywhere. So
to be fair, I really want you to draw Unai, but I actually now really kind of don't want you to. But I think if you did Unai, that would be brilliant. So have you got any more sort of? I know you've been at uni and stuff, and I imagine that sort of takes most of your time. But have you got any ideas to draw anybody else?
Yeah, so I really want to draw for Ezri Konsa. I know it's like an outside the box thing, but I've drawn Ezri like I think it's like 5 times, and he's kind of been a bit of a landmark player. Like I drew him right at the start when he joined Villa, and I can look back on my drawings and see how I've improved over the years. And again, he's like Hutton. He's like, them two are probably my favourite. They're my favourite 2 Villa players. Like they might not have made the Rushmore, but they are the 2 that like it's like the passion and like yeah. But yeah, I really want to draw something massive, and I've been working huge at uni recently. Unfortunately, they take a long time, but that's the cost of drawing so big. But yeah, I'd like to do that. Hopefully, I'd like to work with Villa again in the summer. Obviously, did that video, which was class. I don't know what I can say, but like I've spoke with the club, but it's not like nothing's like properly materialized. It's always like maybe this, maybe not. We'll see. But I was also hoping to do something for one of the loan players in Easter, which unfortunately didn't happen. But if we maybe get Asensio back, I think I'll probably be looking to do something of him. But then, yeah, I've got one other idea, which I don't want to say, but yeah, another big drawing that hopefully it's weird because I speak to a lot of people about my art and about my uni art and about my like Villa art. And while I've been at uni, like when I went to uni, I was just realism, like drawing like kind of from pictures. But as I've gone to uni, I've sort of developed something that I think might not appeal to like a casual like art viewer, but I think there's something a bit more unique that I can go into and test the waters with. So I'm looking to try and form a bit of a relationship between more contemporary arty stuff and like the realism drawings, which could go horribly wrong, but fingers crossed it'll be all right. But I also think trying to target not target players, but like there's opportunity, like there's opportunities for me to draw the players and then meet them, but also I'd like to draw things that the players would then see and be like, that is cool, so let's get you doing something like that for me. And I did one of luckily I was commissioned to draw Jacob Ramsey recently, and originally it was going to be him scoring his first Champions League goal, and the guy said, you know what, maybe we should do something different, just because even though it's great to draw footballers, he probably has that picture framed in his house already. So what's too like, what's the difference between having that drawing and having the picture? Even though the drawings like it's cool, you can appreciate the time that's gone in. You could get a picture, and we ended up doing something more personal for him, which I actually really appreciated. It felt more rewarding as well. But yeah, I want to develop into something that's more rewarding, that feels more personal and more like I've curated something that's got a bit more of an attachment, or players can reach out and say, that is cool, and we can see the effort that you've put in beyond just doing, like the thought that you've put and gone into it. That's the kind of thing that I'm looking to do. So yeah, that's kind of what's coming up. So
yeah, mate, you've absolutely smashed it, and I know Villa fans will really appreciate the artwork that they can currently see from you. So I'll put Sam's socials in the description of the video, so you can go and check it out and get a better look of what he's done. There are sort of like videos on there with that he's created as well. So yeah, go and check that out. Great on Instagram. So yeah, mate, it's been great having you on the channel. We've had a bit of fun with Mount Rushmore, and we've been able to chat to you and find out a little bit more about you. And you know, I think it's nice for me to be able to push you out there, and for Villa fans, hopefully, that aren't aware of you, will be aware of you and follow you and go and check out some of your stuff. So, and hopefully you'll come on the channel again and we can just chat more Villa in general, mate. So thank you for coming on. Up the Villa.
Thank you. Up the Villa. Pleasure.